Hello, everyone, and good afternoon. Welcome. It's Nature Echoes on this Sunday, 5th of February, 2023. So, thank you for joining me on this weekly time of echoing news, stories, poetry, and art connected to nature folklore and our precious water, holy wells, woodlands, hedges, and wildlife. But there's going to be quite a bit of mythology today. So hail, howl, hole, and holy good health for you all. And through this edition, I'm going to be focusing on now. I must apologize. I haven't my slideshow. I usually have a slick slideshow, as you might know, of photographs, and that didn't work. So I've had to go to a primitive hunt and peck for photos today. So I hope you don't mind the hunt and pecking that's going to be going on to get the relative photos. So I'm already stuck with the first photo. Very good. That I wanted to show as what's going on. No, that is totally lost. I think we're going to have a bit of that today, of totally lost photos. Let's see if this is what I'm looking for. Yeah, that's not bad. There you go. We're going to have the wonders from attempting to understand the world Gaelic, and a revisit to some serpent folklore and myths. Ghillie I'm going to talk a little about a friendly male she, and also my upcoming nature folklore course. And I've got a little bit I can tell you about that now. So this Nature Echoes Live, plus the growing nature folklore video articles and photo library, is all brought to you due to the support of our lovely kind subscribers. And I'm currently inviting subscribers to the nature folklore through Substack. That's the address right there. And that's the link. Yeah, that's the link there. And on Substack, I host 2 tiers of membership. There's the free one. So you can look around, comment, and it's great for us to keep in touch. And the other is for our support subscribers. And support subscribers will soon be invited to participate in this new course I'm doing. I'm going to launch very, very soon. And for the subscribers already subscribed, there's actually no extra charge. Anyway, I hasten to add that I will still be continuing to build my video library on Patreon to serve our precious Patreon subscribers as well. And the Patreon subscribers actually get a complimentary paid subscription to Substack as well. Anyway, thank you for support, paid subscribers. That's why I'm still here. Now with the show pledge all sorted, let's see who amongst you, the early birds, are around. We got a few here, I see already, which is fabulous. Kate Cloud Sparks, I see. Hello, Kate. Morning all from cloudy Iowa. And Terry Slack Hardwick from Maryland, USA, which is wonderful. Great to have you around there. Fabulous. And I gather there's 1 or 2 others, but they haven't said anything yet or introduced themselves. I'm sure they will. Nice little viewing figure showing at the moment. So thank you all with it. Anyway, on Facebook, the first echo I'm going to cover today, there's a character that seems to become very active with posts, and they're very long posts, very interesting posts. That's a man that's, let's see if I can get him up. As I say, my slideshow photos didn't work, so I'm going to hunt and peck for photos, not the usual slick way. So let's see if I can get him up. I want to get this man up. He's Celtic Bard Jeff. There he is. There's a picture of well, no, he isn't. Where is he? He should be there. There he is. There's Celtic Bard Jeff. And he kind of cuts and pastes all kinds of wonderful articles. He must spend a long time at it. He searches for juicy, well-written articles, and especially anything that pushes and promotes the Celtic identity. I don't remember what the article was he posted, but the one that got my attention, the thread went on about what the word gaelic is all about and how that entered into the Celtic identity. Now, anything that has Celtic or Gaelic in discussion It's an endless shaggy dog story. It's a shaggy dog debate, never comes to an end. Multiple viewpoints, dangerous area to go into. Anyway, I dared to go into this. And one person responded and used the phrase Gaelic pagans. Some people do use that phrase, Gaelic pagans. And to me, they are actually two words that actually conflict each other when they're thrown together. For me, it's like if you've ever tried out on a piano putting two fingers together, two keys together, not a complete chord, just the two keys. That's what the words Gaelic pagan feels like to me, if you can understand what I mean by that. I think the word paganism today is mainly used as a modern convenience word, and language scholars will service various origins of the pagan word, of course, to try and service a better understanding what the word is and where it comes from. And Gaelic may also seem to be a modern word too. And I'm fascinated by the approach of former Trinity College early language professor Damien McManus. He's only going to take up a bit of the screen, but there's to give you a picture of him rather than me. Or that was very brief, wasn't it? There he is. That's Damien McManus, one of my heroes, especially with Ogham. And I'd heard fragments of his theories before I actually read McManus, but he made understanding of the Gaelic word very clear because he is a lecturer he was a lecturer of early languages, a professor, head of departments at Trinity College in Dublin. And McManus was fascinated by the stories of the bardic exchanges, as well as being fascinated with the Ogham. He really looked hard into the histories of the bards, especially in the medieval period. And he was fascinated by the exchanges that were going on over the lands of now Ireland and Wales. And I first came across what he talks about in the history of, it's a book called The History of Music in Ireland. Sorry, I don't have a picture of the cover, very old book. And also with Claire, we went to visit a harp maker in Oxfordshire who had his own private museum with lots of bardic texts in it, and a lot of it from Wales. And that had some of that story as well. Incredible collection. And anyway, the exchanges between Wales and Ireland included an exchange of language words. And one of those words, and I think I've got the spelling, I think I've got the pronunciation right, gwiddle. Let's go through my hunt and peck, and we might find a gwiddle. This one here. That comes up, it should be... I've got, let's get this sorted. Right, gwiddle. Welsh, actually it's a word probably the early Britons used as well. And it probably started, it seems like, get this down a bit, started as a derogatory word, probably, as I say, from the ancient Britons, and it was a kind of an insult towards the Irish tribes, because by the times the Britons, then the Welsh, were settled in, they were very much into settled farming, but they regarded the Irish as actually being more wild than them, not settled as them, and they were wild people that were among the trees. And that's what that word gwiddle, I'll bring it up again, is claimed to the Welsh. That's what they thought it would mean. Well, the Irish actually thought, well, this is the Welsh giving us a compliment. And they tried to pronounce it, but these people weren't scribing at the time. It was all oral. And so when they kind of chewed over the word, it came out as this, which is something like Gael. So, Gael. There you go. It's Gael, D-H, Gael. And when the scribes finally got their heads around it, and eventually they shortened that, actually, G-A, what are you familiar with now? G-A-E-L. And it's saying the same thing, the Gael. And it seems that this Gael word became accepted from the 6th century, probably the 7th century, because during the 6th century, the whole country that's now Ireland was totally riddled with plagues, epidemics, took away about 40% of the population. So they gave education and scribing industry, which was starting to take off in the 5th century. It kind of knocked it backwards. So it never really got going until the 7th century. And so this was when the Gael evolved from describing tree people, because now we had these scribes. I assume they were working with parchment, not with wood pulp yet. That was several hundred years after. But these people working as scribes, they were known as scholars. And being the scholars, they were of the Gaelic class. They were the Gael class, and that became a higher scholarly class, the elite of the time. So there's a whole change of use of the word there. So again, that complex the idea of putting Gaelic and pagan together, because you've got that higher echelons of scholars, the poets, I suppose you would say, and then the pagans were the ones that were shown to work the land. And anyway, McManus claimed that at the time, the island that was known, I suppose, in early medieval, if I can get again, Hunt and Peck, Aryan, which was kind of familiar in different spellings, and it became very much known as Gael, generally by the scholars instead. So fascinating area. Seems described Irish language. It became known. I haven't got the spelling of the next one. The language itself became known as Gaelic, spelled differently. I haven't got the spelling, but that spelling moved into what's now, well, it's probably shared at the time, but it still exists in West Scotland and the islands with this spelling. There you go. And that's the spelling there. And that's now today pronounced something like Gaelic. Some people, it sounds like garlic when some people say it very fast, but that's it. It's the garlic there. So the Welsh, they thought, oh, this was interesting. They started respecting the whole changes going on in Ireland. They weren't wild people in the woods that they thought. They were scholars. They were people that could come over to Wales and share their education. So the Welsh came up with a new name for the Irish, and that was because for some reason, they couldn't pronounce Gaelic. So they had their own thing, Gwydel there. So that was the Welsh, what they called the scholarly Irish, and the scholarly themselves as well. And actually, a lot of this, although McManus has got a bardic book, a lot of the information is actually in his Guide to Ogham book, which is very hard to get, and it's very expensive if you do find it. And yes, he actually spells Ogham A-G-A-M rather than what we're familiar with, A-O-G-H-A-M. But that's another story why he says that. Anyway, let's check on your comments. That a few people have come along since there's Wayne Bird here. Evening, John Hopeswell from Birmingham, UK. And we have Rebecca Jane Lang from Amsterdam, lovely. And Claire Roach is here from Dublin. Lovely to see Claire here as well. Ingrid Finch from Northern Cyprus. Well, that is definitely a compliment from Northern Cyprus. When I was listening to the StreamYard Town Hall, they were saying how StreamYard has actually become popular in Cyprus very recently. So lovely to have you here, Ingrid. Fantastic. And Jess Ritchie here from Norwich, UK. So there's a few faces I haven't seen here before. So thank you for all being here. I hope you find this fascinating. As I say, sorry, I'm hunting and pecking for photos because my normal slideshow utility isn't working. It didn't work. So I have to hunt and peck for bringing photos up to try and show you what's happening. Anyway, I'm going to do a little bit of a revisit to serpent folklore because I haven't really had time to do that this spring. And the next echo really is a man, fascinating man, again on Facebook, Ken Collinson. And he has wonderful stories of mythology. He's in the UK somewhere, I believe. So he has a lot of UK interpretations. And one in bulkish subject that I didn't get to cover this year was serpents, especially water serpents and dragons that I usually like to cover over the Imbolc area. And the reason for that, I love any serpent and dragon stories. And one of the reasons is the symbolism of them is very good for portraying what's happening in the winter underground, where it all seems to be barren and quiet in winter in the northern hemisphere. But underneath is all this liveliness going on, the transforming and regeneration action, converting all of the debris from the last cycle in order to create fertility coming up for the spring. Nature's own composting, I suppose you would say. And usually it's spring. That's where the water serpents come in. It's usually when the snows melt and the storms have been. We usually get February storms. Haven't had them this year. And we usually get lots of rain. Haven't had them this year. So is the serpent awake? We're not getting the rain and snow like we had. There is snow in the forecast in the coming week, but it's not the same. But anyway, what Ken was pointing out, it was this week, was how serpents and dragons seem to actually appear in human mythology in absolutely every nation, in every tribe, in every culture. And anthropologists believe that the Australians have covered a serpent story of creation for at least 45,000 years and maybe up to 60,000 years. And this is the sort of artwork. Again, some bit of hunt and picking here, excuse, but I'll find it. This is some of the artwork of the rainbow serpent. It won't let me peck. There we go. No, there we go. That's one of them. That's very much a native Australian illustration of the rainbow serpent. And I think I've got another one here. There we go. There's another one there. And in Mesopotamia, ancient Mesopotamia and Sumerians, they really got into their serpents as well. There's some, no, that's Egyptian ones. I hope I got the picture up. Don't say I haven't got the picture up. I had a lovely Sumerian serpent photo, but unfortunately, I've lost it. No, it's not in there. It didn't arrive. Let's see if I can do a bit of deep hunting and pecking, because I'd love to get this one up for you. Give me a second, see if I can quickly find it, the Sumerian one. Any luck? No. No, I don't think it's not even in the deep archives here. That's a shame, because that was a fascinating photo. Anyway, I will move on. So, okay, that's an Egyptian one there anyway. One thing I do have here is a Sumerian. They did have a serpent god. This is a statue that of a Sumerian serpent. That was their serpent queen. And that was linked to the Sumerian. She was linked to the Sumerian creation stories. And it said that she actually was very much the control of the flow of water, and you had to respect her to get the rains to come. So she was sort of the overlordess or whatever that was honored. Otherwise, you won't get your water. And there are certainly ancient serpent effigies and carvings all over the world. And one of the things we do have, well, not so much in Ireland, strangely enough. Ireland has the spirals, but in the UK and North America, they both have a similar relic, I suppose you would say, the winding serpentine mounds. When the Saxons arrived, they called them dikes and they called them grimsditches. So the tribes that were the Anglo-Saxons, and there's a couple of famous ones. I'm not sure where these are, but they're lovely woodland walks. I think that one, not quite sure. I think that's somewhere in the edge of the Chilterns near Dunstable. But there are some, as I say, lovely nature walks, and there's no evidence of these actually being used as fortresses. And Offa's Dyke near the Welsh border, a place called Knighton, that's perhaps the best known. I might have some pictures. This one, let's see, I've got the signpost. This one here is a sign for the Grimsditch at place called Ivinghoe near Tring in Bedfordshire, I think it is. And I think I've got some more pictures of the Tring one here. That's along the Ivinghoe one. This one here, yeah, I think that's still Ivinghoe, but here is an overhead cam. This is the Offers Dyke. That's seems to almost it became part of the Welsh border as a marking point, as a great convenience for that. I'd say a real mystery. The Saxon called them they're the Grimm's ditches, and it comes from an old Saxon word that's grimo. I think something like grimo, Grimo. So, and the Saxons use it very much in the same way. In Ireland, we talk about the she hills and the fairy hills, but for some reason, the Saxons applied a kind of masculine deity, I believe. And I can't remember what the name of the god and goddess, but they certainly had a god that was Woden, which is very much like the Odin in the Norse. And they did have, in the Norse, they have Odin and they have Freya. The Saxons had a goddess. I forgot. They got the underworld goddess. I can't remember exactly, but it was Uya, something like Uya. I'll have to check that up. Anyway, but the goddess there, the serpentry being, took on similar symbolism and function as the Morrigan and the kayak in Ireland. Now, the Saxons, they seem to worship and reverence as the most famous serpent that we know, of course, is in the Old Testament of the Bible, in the Adam and Eve story. And I think I've got, I get a sort of illustration of this. I tried to find something that had a little bit of effect, and that's the best I can do, because there is a version that didn't get into the final cut, or so it said. It's not in the final cut of the Bible. And it said that the serpent or snake came to Eve, and that serpent was the holder of all wisdom that was needed for the understanding of the earth. I can't give a reference to that script today. It's something I actually glimpsed at when Claire and I went to a wonderful exhibition in Milwaukee. And it was dedicated to the Dead Sea Scrolls. So it went into the variations of situations and scripts that were considered for the Bible, were the Bible, and the ones that were thrown out. And I think that's where I got that from. Anyway, another point is there isn't actually an apple in the original Eve story, the Adam and Eve story. There wasn't an apple. They just talk about forbidden fruit. So we don't know what that forbidden fruit is. A lot of people speculate it was plums or apricots. But I think it's wonderful how the apple symbol, mainly through the Renaissance sculptors and painters, came about because they were inspired by the Greeks. And it's lovely the apple came into that story because, of course, as you've heard perhaps from me at other times, the apple is very symbolic symbol. The apple, you bunch into an apple, you go into a state of wonder with all that fragrance, and the apple is symbolic of acquiring wisdom. And so it's great that clip got into the story. Anyway, that's just a teaser on serpents for a moment, and I'm going to return to serpent subjects from time to time. So that was just my echo from the Posts of Mythology. If you're on Facebook, go to @Ken Collinson. Sorry, I haven't got the spelling. Collinson, Coll, as in Cole Hazel, INSON, Ken Collinson. So let's see if anybody's been saying hello or anything going on. We've got Jess Ritchie here from Norfolk. Hello, Jess. Wonderful you got here. I might have said already, hello already to you. Fabulous. Anyway, so the next one. Now, who is it? Yeah, this is an echo from the... now, who did I get this echo from? Heart of Scotland, again, on the Facebook. And they got my attention on folklore that I'd forgotten about, haven't gone into for some years. And they referenced an entity, a fascinating entity called the ghillie. Sorry, haven't got the, didn't get the naming up Ghillie, do, or it could be dove, Dubh, do or dove, dark, the dark ghillie, the dark fairy. And it pops up in Scottish and Ulster folklore, including Donegal. So the ghillie do or the ghillie dove is described as a male fairy, and always alone, never accompanied by other entities. This, if I should have a ghillie do here in my hunt and peck collection. Let's see, where is he? There we go. There's a recent artist impression. There we go. Guardian of the Woods, the ghillie do. Someone dressed up as a ghillie do on the left. And it's quite significant. The girl by the water there is significant in the tales, which I'll tell you about in a minute. And there's a close-up of the ghillie do himself. Now, funnily enough, I'm going to be talking another form of ghillies that actually, in their origin, dressed up a lot like that, obviously to imitate these people. There's other images here of the ghillie do. These are what artists come up with. They come up with they make them scary, but they're not actually scary at all. They shouldn't be. No, that's something else. Now, that seems to be all I've got in the ghillie doos at the moment. But the ghillie do is said to make a physical appearance, clothed in the leaves, moss, and has dark hair, like I showed there. And he loves to appear by mature birch trees. He loves children, very kind to children, never harms them, and actually dedicates his life to protecting children. And in Scotland, you may hear of gillies and the wee ghillie bars. If you've been a tourist going around Scotland, especially if you're out of season, if you're going around in April and May, or you're in September, October, or even through the winter, and you're trying to find something that's open, the one thing that'll be open is the ghillie bars, little tiny bars on the side of hotels, and they stay open all year round because the gillies go back to the very ancient tradition that is inspired by the ghillie do. But today they're curators of the land and the rivers and the lochs. As I say, in the early times when they first existed, they would make themselves invisible and might be dressed up something like that. And but these days they're very different. Well, I'll give you an example. They're in more modern dress. You're more likely to see them in kind of wax green coats, tweeds. And here we go. There's an old picture. I think it's a Victorian. They had kilts for a while, certainly through the Victorian time, and I suppose up until 1920. So yeah, they got rid of it was kilts then. Anyway, let's find something else. But they're more likely, a ghillie is more likely to look like this character here. There he is. I would notice the shirt and tie, you know. That's funny. Out in the bogs with the shirt and tie, very important. And but really, they usually often have the deerstalker hats. There's a nice one in the kilts again. And notice the deerstalkers are coming in there. And I think this lad's got a deerstalker. Yeah, he's called himself a salmon on the side. And here's this jolly chap with his deerstalker, the tweeds, the shirt and tie, the works. Anyway, I said their job is to defend anything that may cause harm to the natural surroundings. And then in summer, there are the guides of people who visit, who want to do some fishing and hunting on the lands. And the ghillies make sure the visitors' activities there are fair, sustainable, and not greedy. And ghillies have always been paid by originally the chieftains and now the landowners in some way for their care of the land. And so I give you, they went from the camouflage to those tweed trousers, well as the stalker hats, etc. Now, many years ago, I wish I had pictures of this. I was fishing in a river in Sutherland, not far away from Betty Hill on the north coast. It was a river that feeds into Betty Hill anyway. And it's notorious for being full of salmon. And so we're going to get, I was with a couple of friends. Well, let's go and get some salmon. And one good way of getting salmon is have a bunch of worms, throw the worms on the surface, excuse me, and the salmon just comes up. And you have salmon on your lines, of course, so you can pull them out. But who should come along but the then Prince Charles, and he gave us hell for using worms. I'm not going to repeat it, but he said that we could only fish there if we did fly fishing. He got very angry with us, but he settled down. But the way he behaved with us is exactly, if he was a ghillie, he was just taking on the ghillie role. It's exactly what any ghillie would do, because that's what ghillies are there for. They don't want you raiding all the salmon, because you'll take, they think that you'd be too greedy with it. But as indicated, the ghillie do or ghillie dove, though a gentle soul, would actually has a ability of being very wild looking, and I think that's where it showed in that. Go back to that image there, as I say, very scary, wild looking, but they are very, very gentle, kind-hearted entity, very timid, but keeps very attentive eyes on children that are present in the woods to make sure they come to no harm. Now, there's a story from Loch Druin near Gaelic in Ross and Cromarty. I think I've got a map location. Is this the map location? I don't know if you make that. Gaelic's down the bottom. There's a bit of peninsula, and there's a mark there of the Loch and Druin. And there's a story from there, and I think I've got a photo. This is what it actually looks like, aerial view. Notice the woodlands. And the story that's famous there, I believe there's a lot of birch there. It looks like some piney stuff has got in, certainly some hazel anyway. Here's from another angle. And so the story from there, it's one of the worst places for midges, by the way, up against that loch there. But get down to the Gaelic beaches, you'll be fine. Anyway, a local called Jessie was a common woman's name, Jessie McCrae, and it's really McCrae clan country. And Jessie McCrae wandered into the birchwood by the loch there and became lost. But a ghillie found her, and it was dusk, no chance of getting her home. So he kept her warm through the night, and when it was dawn again, he took her home the following morning. And the local story is told that many people, they would see Jessie out and about, and there beside her would be the ghillie in her company. And apparently she, right through her entire life, people would see her accompanied by this ghillie that had kept her safe through the night. Now, she was the only one that could speak to her. And if anybody approached her, the ghillie would vanish. But it said he always kept a protective eye on her, and she never came to any harm, because if anyone threatened her, the usual timid ghillie would surround the offender with wilderness. The person wouldn't see the ghillie. They'd just have that feeling that not to hang around, that never to be seen, and would always scare the offender away. So Jessie lived a lovely life of being protected, and lived, I don't know, she lived a long life apparently, and didn't seem to get into instances. And you'll find the similar stories connected to the sprites of Cornwall, and they're said to gather around the holy wells and protect anyone who might be in trouble with the water, and even become guides for the essential healing. Anyway, that's enough of that. Those stories are for another session. Let's see what you're saying at the moment. There we go. Robin Hart Shepherd. Oh, that was a shock. It was years ago. I don't know when that was. It was in the 80s, was it? I think probably 84. At the time, there was big news incident where he did some dangerous skiing. I'm not sure if it was Austria or Switzerland. And he had some friends with him, and they said, let's go and ski over there. But there was avalanche warnings. And sure enough, they got there, and there was an avalanche, and a couple of his friends got killed. And so, of course, that was a huge embarrassment to him. He went to stay a while with the Queen Mother in the castle. Maybe he was so embarrassed that he ended up staying with other friends in Sutherland. I'm not sure if they were royal lands or not, but anyway, it was where he was staying with the friends, and they were out for a walk, and that's when they caught us. So that's the story behind that. Protector of the innocent. That's right. That's the dilly coo. Dilly. I'm getting tongue twisted on that. Sorry. The ghillie dog. Boy, I had a bit of a brain disappearance there. Anyway, simple story. Jess from Norwich. We talking about Jessie. We have a Jess from Norwich here, UK. And that's a reminder of that. And I've said hello a couple of times. And Terry Thack, the worm story is priceless. Lovely. I'm glad you managed to follow that one. Okay. I got one more thing, I think. Yes. One more thing to tell you. I'll give you a little bit of, I don't think I've got any pictures for this. Anyway, I'll briefly tell you about this one. It's the Nature Folklore course that I've been promising for years, ever since I started inviting subscribers to Patreon and then Substack now. I promised a course as a bonus for the subscribers, but with all the preparations for making the videos and articles and trying to get pictorial slideshows going, of course, it hasn't quite happened yet. And so I've not had the space to put together a course, but there's been a combination of recent experiences that's jolted me to actually do something about this. And last Sunday, I talked about following me was Tara Tyne with her amazing history of herbs, magical herbs course. Incredibly popular it was. She had a very successful evening with that. So we're broadcasting one after another here at Lister Dannon. And a couple of weeks ago, you remember we had Dana Driscoll on. Was talking about her latest Sacred Actions book release, which was also about journaling. And add to that, it seems there's never a week that goes by without people asking me, when you're going to write your biography. You know, it's like Robin was saying about the incident with Charles. When you're going to write your biography, a memoirs book. And that request has actually been very active during the last week or two as well. So without knowing it, I think I've been placed by other people into what you might call is an elephant in the room situation. So what do I mean by that? Well, through my life, since my childhood, and that's over 65 years ago, I've set up all kinds of different events. And this is something I've always loved to do that involves people gathering in loose circles out amongst the trees and water. And each event usually includes a shared picnic. And these of the participants, they actually feel comfortable enough to share their feelings and passions and observations, and also their jokes and humor. And they share this through stories, poems, and sometimes through songs they've written. Now, two recent activities over recent years that I and we, with Claire, facilitated have included all of this, and they've brought a lot of joy. We had Bards in the Woods from about 2:12 and 2:18, and then moved that on to Sunday sessions in the Carracrory Cottage and Tree Labyrinth. So that was it. I'm thinking about that. Now, this is where I'm thinking of the elephant in the room because of what I've been involved in. How would you like to learn more about day-to-day practices inspired by the folklore stories from nature? And of course, I share plenty of them here on the show and through Substack. And I thrive from doing this myself. And by doing so, I think I enjoy a very good pace of living with many happy moments because I do allow this folklore stuff to be very much a guide. I always have done. And no matter how challenging circumstances become. So I'm preparing the foundations of a very easy to do course, and I'm calling it the Journaling Nature Folklore course. Journaling Nature Folklore course. And this involves It's a practice of translating from prompts. And I'll tell you what prompts are in the course. And from those prompts, you record them into a journal, and then you let your journal be a leading inspiration. I know a lot of us have the wonderful inspiration of tuning into the Arwen, of the She, of the Imbus, and they would tune in to give us. But for a journal, it's amazing how they can serve a lot of vision and clarity. And so you can actually do things with more focus and confidence. And this, in a way, is quite what I'm going to be showing in the course is very much an upgrade, which of a habit that I'm sure a lot of you have, and that's writing lists. How many of you write lists all the time? But through the journaling that I'm going to be showing you, I'm sure you'll find it a better way of approaching this. Now, of course, there's 3 points I'm referring to that's going to be covered on the course. I've already mentioned them: prompts, leading on to journaling, leading on to inspiration for action. So it's a kind of a Trinity approach that becomes a process for revealing ideas and visions and ideas from prompts, just like ancient people would have done before there was actually scribed writing. That's the only language they had, was from prompts. And you can recognize that on the markings on stone sites, on caves, and where I'm sure all those art and markings, that was their journals. Journals that was prompted by certain things. One of the examples, when you see animals in caves, it might not necessarily be that they hunted that animal. They might have seen that animal, and that animal represented something. It was a prompt to say something. So they'll put that in the cave more or less as a billboard. And this is the application that I'm going to be doing, because we can actually write on paper now. So those are the 3 things. I'm going to show you prompts, and OM comes very much into this, because I believe the OM alphabet was formed out of prompts, and it was what was available before people knew how to string symbols along, make sentences, make words, even sentences into paragraphs. So you start with prompts. We know how to do sentences now because we can read and write. So we take the prompts, putting them into sentences, and from that, as I say, it's better than writing a list, because we'll have the pictures, we'll have the memory of the prompts. And I feel this is exactly what happened to the scribes, medieval scribes. All these oral people had were showing examples of their prompts. They couldn't write, so all they had was, look, they could make noises, but these scribes are not going to understand their noises. But if they show them objects and prompts, oh, look at that tree here, look at that animal there, look at that bird there, and put it all together, somehow the scribe can put this together, and the person that's dictating, yeah, you've got it, and I think that's how the scribes put these stories together. So really, it's almost like a modern day version of going back to ancient times and being like those oral people. You already have the skills of writing. I think you'll find this very exciting, and as I'm just talking about an introduction. So that's really what I'm talking about, is journaling with nature folklore. I've always completed 2 articles as an introduction to this course. I'll post them on Substack on the free levels very soon. So my journaling nature folklore course, pricing, well, it's €30. And I'm running it through the Substack platform. And if you're already an annual subscriber on Substack, guess what? You get it free, because you've already paid your €30. You've already paid the annual fee. Or if you're on the 2-for-1 deal through Patreon, you're already in. So it's an extra that your subscribers will be getting. And you'll get all the extra content in the videos and the audio and the articles I post as well. So how the journaling nature folklore course will operate, I will start by explaining upcoming articles. So make sure that's the address there. Make sure you subscribe there, and you'll get all the latest information on that. I'm sure you will love this course with no pressure. It's a creative format of coursework. There's no deadlines. and I'm sure it will add a lovely additional connection to the flow of the 4 seasons of the year. So it's lovely having the prompts and inspiration that matches the place, time, and season that you're in. This is what I'll be encouraging. And the other thing that we'll do as well, by using these prompts, it'll develop your skills as a writer, as an artist as well, also as a musician. But I'm going to talk more about this next Sunday. If you're actually in a writing class, if you join a writing group, you may already be going through something similar. Sorry, I'm losing my voice, but anyway, I haven't got much more to say. You'll go through some because often at the beginning of the session, when you group together, someone will come in with some items, loaf of bread, some vegetables, or I went in with leaves. I took all the ohm leaves in once, and you hand those around. That's your prompt. What can you write about that? What can you write as a story or a poem? So I'm going to be taking that onto a folklore level. That's what the course is about. And the other thing, of course, I'm thinking of behind this is not to lose that ability of vision from prompts, from your inspiration. And because to me, there's a lot of promotion about artificial intelligence services, and by still holding on to those ancient ways of understanding through prompts, through visions, that you don't lose that. Because there's going to be temptation to say, I can just look this up on the AI services. So we don't want you to water down your precious, unique craft with the easy to reach AI services. Sometimes they are going to be useful, but don't let it overpower you. It's like the difference, I suppose, with the mobile phone. Do you spend your life just walking around with a mobile phone in front of you all the time? Or is the phone something you get out of your pocket when you really need to and you put it away, or you put it in your bag? Anyway, I'll talk more about that next Sunday. So to receive updates, that's the support tier on Nature Folklore Substack.com. So thank you very much for listening to that. Any more comments from you here? We got a few people have come up with comments. Sounds wonderful, John. Love your prompt course. Yeah, so it's very vague. I hope it's difficult to do an introduction. I'll be glad when I finish the articles to give it in more line, because it's one of those things that's very, very simple, but I'm stumbling with words to explain something that was an instinct of those oral speakers who just understood language by prompts. And the scribes didn't understand them because they become addicted to scribing. They become addicted to the linear stuff because they'd been learning their Latin and the Greek, and that's how that language came over. So thank you very much. We live together. So might there be a moment where we go? Yeah, you're ahead of me there, Myra. Sorry. I'll have to have some water. Sorry, my voice is going completely. Once we gather the subscribers together, of course, when the numbers are there, I'm going to hopefully upgrade this so we do get together. I talked about Baths in the Woods. I talked about when we got together at the Carrowcrory Cottage and Labyrinth Garden, and when people would come together. Hopefully we'll have that kind of meetup amongst the members and share what we got live and in person. And of course, for the people that are in the distance, if you're in Cyprus or the USA, Canada, Australia, we sometimes get people watching. We'll have seminars. We'll have an online kind of seminar type of arrangement. And then hopefully from the seminar, people from that are amongst the subscribers will say, oh, this is very good. And you can actually meet up in person in your own countries, your own localities. But we're talking about years ahead. I mean, I'm not trying to build a cult here. It's just an inspiration. But yeah, live together, it's definitely got to come up in as a development. But first of all, got to get the course going and the feel of it first. Wonderful subject. But weather keeping your stream broken up, so we'll catch another time. Oh, sorry. Your weather's cool. I'm going to say the one thing this week is we've kept on. The stream has been fantastic. The signal hasn't gone down, which is fabulous. I think we've got everybody's comments so far. Thank you for watching this Nature Echoes. Again, I've kind of exceeded the time. A little bit more to share. I enjoy what we share here live and through the Nature Folklore channels. As I say, join the course there. I keep repeating over and over again. I do have a videos and article library slowly growing there, as subscribers already know. And the one thing is, all the content there is free from adverts. And one of the things that's exciting, I haven't really thought about it, but there's no algorithms pollution there with what I got on the Substack. People are so relieved to move from the Facebook to there to get rid of the algorithms on their back. So as I say, there's a free tier and a membership tier. Participants there will get invited to the Nature Folklore course that I'm about to launch very, very soon. So thank you for your support. And because that support is funding for the production of these weekly Nature Folklore broadcasts, the Nature Echoes for broadcasts, and all the extra stuff I do for Nature Folklore, the Holy Welsh Revival, and other projects. And Substack, you subscribe through a card, it's through Stripe. If you prefer PayPal, message me. You can do that through Patreon and get the 2-for-1 deal. So next week, I'm not sure what's going to be on Nature Echoes next week. It might be an interview. I'm not sure. People have approached me to get their interviews done. So we're going to be having some interview sessions coming up very soon, which is great. I see something going on. A few thank yous. Thank you very much. Everybody's saying thank you here. Terry and Wayne and Rebecca, thank you for all those thank yous. I enjoyed being with you this evening. Share Nature Folklore Echoes. Sorry about the voice again. If you're watching this as an after broadcast replay, keep posting comments and questions. I'll answer them the best I can, especially about the course. And if you watch, I don't think we've got any YouTube people today, but if you, it's funny, I'm so busy on this stuff that I forget to tell the YouTube watchers what's coming up, but they find out after the show and they follow up. But if you're there, click the bell icon in YouTube. It actually reminds you automatically what's coming up. I shouldn't be needing to do too much promotion. Anyway, have a safe week full of wonder, inspirations, enchantments that comes from your presence in the water, the woods, and the mysteries of nature. So until next Sunday, just leave me to say, play well. And it was great being with you. And I'll answer any other comments as soon as I can after the show. So thank you. We'll see you next Sunday. Thank you very much.